Hello, welcome back to Bebop Review. My name is Andy Shaw. Today we're going to be looking at this video by Rick Beato. It's called How to Learn a Charlie Parker Solo. Rick Beato's analysing the tune Thriving on a Riff. This is take 3, right, of Thriving on a Riff, which was recorded back in 1945. This was from the first Bebop session, right, which Downbeat gave 0 stars to. Very amusingly, but anyway, Rick Beato is looking in the Charlie Parker Omnibook. If you've got the Charlie Parker Omnibook Volume 1, it's on page 60. It's very inaccurate, this transcription. I went through it myself, and it's just very, very inaccurate. And something strange is this. Can you see that note there, that D sharp? It carries on to that D sharp. Then you've got an E flat, which is crazy. Chords don't change. You've got a D to an E flat, which is mad because it's the same note, isn't it? D sharp to E flat. That should be D natural, that D there. If you look, this is in C in the concert book, Charlie Parker Omnibook concert pitch. If you look in the Charlie Parker Omnibook E flat pitch, that note is actually correct. So in this one it's wrong, but in the E flat book it's correct. So it's just crazy. The Charlie Parker Omnibook Volume 1 is just crazy, I'm telling you. This note here, see this F sharp, it doesn't even exist. There's nothing there. This falls off to a C. It doesn't go down there. It just falls off to a C, and then there's nothing here. Charlie Parker kind of like drops off. You can't hear nothing. It's just like a gap there. And it's the same, these little bits, that B flat should be a C, and there's just little things all over that, you know, that are really irritating about Charlie Parker Omnibook. But the biggest thing to me is always the key signature. There's no key signature in the Charlie Parker Omnibook, which means that everything's very messy. All B flats are written and E flats are written in, you know what I mean? Then you've got cancel signs. It just looks messy. When you've got a key signature, it just looks so much cleaner to work through. And like I say, it's not accurate at all. Rick Beato doesn't make any comment about the inaccuracy of it. In fact, I don't think he's checked it against. I think he's just accepted it. He's got the Charlie Parker Omnibook and he's just simply accepted it as being accurate. He's playing the notes that are written, but he doesn't check them against the record, what Charlie Parker's actually playing, because if you do that, you see, it's just not right at all, you know. Rick Beato has obviously not read any of the PhD studies on Charlie Parker, especially the ones by Jen Quan Chang and Thomas Owen, and also John Englehart's PhD study. These are all really important that you should really have, you know, when you studying Charlie Parker and looking into the solos. They do help you see more if you've gone through them. What I'll do first is I'll play the Charlie Parker playing the music, and I'll just show you the comparison between the solo that I've written out, which we're going to be looking at, and the one that Rick Beato's been using from the Charlie Parker Omnibook. And you just listen to it carefully and go through it. You can actually try and play it if you want, because I'm playing it half speed, and you can see that the Charlie Parker Omnibook is just not accurate. It's just not accurate. Okay. Okay, as you can see, my transcription written out is a lot cleaner, especially in this first 16 bars. In the bridge section, which starts here, you can see there's more incidentals in this one, because that's what you'd expect, because the bridge section of rhythm changes actually goes through, well, 4 tonalities really, doesn't it? This bit's in, this is G, these 2 bars, this is in C, this is in F, and then we've gone back to B flat, which takes you back into the A section again. I've just written out the same amount of bars that Rick Beato looks at in his video. If you look at this note here, this A, it's actually an A flat, and I think Rick Beato actually says Rick Beato actually corrects that as well. But that note, you see that A there, which is an A flat, properly an A flat. In alto sax, that's an E flat. That note should be, or that note there, that A flat, should be an F, right? And it's correct in the E flat book, so it's wrong in the C book and correct in the E flat book. I'm telling you, it's really crazy. Charlie Parker Harmony book varies from what key book you're studying from. It's daft. Anyway, we're going to look at this one of mine. We might refer back to this because that G might be correct. I've actually got that as an A, but it could be a G, that note. So I'll just go to my transcription. It looks neater and it's easy for me to look through anyway. One other thing I'd like to say is this. If you're looking at a transcription of a player, it's best to look at it in the key that they're playing in and they're thinking in. So if I were actually looking at this solo, I would be looking at it from an E flat perspective. That is how Charlie Parker himself would be playing it, you know what I mean? Thinking in E flat. So you would see the range on this stave from an E flat. If I were looking at Clifford Brown, I wouldn't look at Clifford Brown in my own instrument, which is an alto saxophone, in E flat. I would be looking at it in B flat, which is his instrument. And when I'm looking at Bud Powell, I don't look at Bud Powell in E flat. I look at him in concert pitch, you know what I mean, because he's a pianist. So I think it's best to look at players in their own pitches, at the music as it's played for them, you know. But in this respect, what I'm doing is I'm actually looking at what Rick Beato's saying. So I'm going to look at it in concert. But it don't really make much difference to me because I can see what those notes are in alto sax pitch anyway, because I've done that much arranging. Right, so I'm looking at a solo now. First thing that Rick Beato does is he goes on about this. This is third, running up to the fifth, and then he says to the fourth here, and then back to the fifth. So he's basically, all he's doing is just telling you what relation of note is to this particular chord. He doesn't seem to be very happy with this C minor, and he says we're still playing in B flat here. So Rick Beato's basically saying B flat all along here to this F7, and then we're going to B flat, and then he says we're playing F7 here, right? So I'll just show you in Band in a Box what Rick Beato's saying. Okay, so these first bars, I've put it into Band in a Box so you can see what Rick Beato's actually seeing. He sees these as B flat up to here. He's saying this as, he seems to be emphasising these this fifth here. He's saying we're going chromatically up to the fifth, and then this is the fourth, and then we're at fifth again, and then this is probably ninth at C minor, but he thinks we're still in B flat because he's saying he thinks that all these are in B flat. And then we're into F7 here, and then this is an arpeggio, right? B flat arpeggio, B flat major 7 arpeggio up to the major 7 here, which is dropping down to this F7, which carries on here, which is slightly different to one. Just have a listen to that, and just loop the screen and have a listen to it. Yeah, I just wanted you to hear those chords there, where the harmony's moving. Just have another listen. Try and listen to the chords against the melody. Listen again. You see, when I hear that, I'm actually hearing harmony changing here. This sounds, there's definitely voice lead in here. And so I'll just show you related to my transcription bit, this bit here on my bit where I've had a look at. Right, I just want to give you my reasoning for why I think that I don't agree with Rick Beato. Right, the reason is this, because of this line. Let me just show you this line here. See this line here? That. Those notes up to there. That's called M, 4, C, B. From Thomas Owen's Motives, right? I just want to say, people have been complaining about me putting these numbers. I've told you plenty of times in my videos, these numbers come from Thomas Owens 1974 PhD on Charlie Parker. They're pretty much standard. Anybody who's into studying Charlie Parker, right, and if you get any books or PhD studies on Charlie Parker, right, I'm talking about proper ones, you'll see these numbers, right, and they're from Thomas Owens' catalogue of Charlie Parker motives. Now, if you haven't got the catalogue of Charlie Parker motives, which is in Thomas Owens' PhD study, go to Bebop Review Facebook page, because it's on there free in 2 volumes. And you should also get Jen Quan Chang's PhD, and there's other ones as well, you know, Mitchell's one on changing tones and things. You want to get those because these will all help you looking at bebop, right? So we're looking at M4CB, right? Now M4CB appears a hell of a lot in Charlie Parker's tunes. Now I want to show you some M4CBs that appear in the Charlie Parker Harmony book, right? So you can check them yourself. I want you to look at this particular note here. You see this note here, which Rick Beato calls a 4th on that B flat. Have a look at that note in each one of these M4CBs that I'm going to show you, okay? So I'll show you now. Okay, looking at those M4CBs in the Charlie Parker Harmony book, you can see that this note here, which Rick Beato calls a 4th, see this note here, which is part of the M4CB. In those examples again, apart from one, every one was a chord tone, yet that's not, it's a 4th. Now 4th on B flat is seen as an avoid note, isn't it? But you look here how this goes. M4CB is made up of a chromatic run up to this top note, which is goes through a changing tone. See, a changing tone which is leading to that E flat. So everything's pointing to this E flat, right? So it should be a chord tone, or it should be something important. So I think harmony, some kind of harmony is going on here. Let's just clear that up. So if you look at the actual music, you should be able to see, in fact you don't have to see it, you can bloody hear it if you listen to Charlie Parker. This voice leading going down from this F here, it's definitely hitting this E flat, E flat, and then it's going to that D, and then it's going to that C there, and then it's obviously running down this B to there, which is taking it back up again, because this is basically a version of M1, isn't it, which is taking it up to that A there, see. But just looking at this, right, so this E flat's obviously part of harmony, so it can't be really part of the B flat, so Parker's got to be thinking something else. So I don't think that that is part of B flat. I think that this is A diminished, right, or A half diminished, right, and then that is going to dropping down, and this is G minor. We're dropping down to G minor, and that's to F. So it's basically diatonic movement to that F7 there. So we're going from the root note down to the 7th, to the 6th, to the 5th, aren't we? And this is basically, if you don't believe that Parker does things like this, you want to look at Cole Wardek's book on Charlie Parker, his life and legacy, because Parker shows. Wardek shows you in that book that Parker, even though you've got static chords, what seem to be static chords, Parker puts a lot of harmony in his melodic line, and it actually comes from a PhD study that, I forgot what you call it now, I quoted it just earlier on. Who was it who did it? Enghart, weren't it? Somebody called Enghart. He did a PhD study, and it's in his book, and Cole Wardek has just got it after his PhD. But he in that one he's going through dominant sevenths. He's descending through dominant sevenths, but there's no dominant sevenths being played. But Parker's actually, obviously, if you look at the transcription, it's obvious that that's what Parker's doing. And I think here, this is what Parker's doing. He's going from B flat to A diminished. He's descending diatonically chords to G minor, because if you look at that in the Charlie Parker book, that's a G in it. So G, B, D, that's just G minor, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? And that E flat is part A diminished, and it just seems natural. Now, if we go back to Band in a Box, and I'll just show you in Band in a Box, I've put those chords in so you can listen. Just listen how much more natural it sounds putting those chords in against Parker's solo. Okay. Okay, so you can see I put the chords in that I think are actually being played. I kind of agree with Rick Beato. I think they says this blast bar is F7, but I think it's starting here. I think it's actually starting here, and then he's just running down. And there's a change here. That note doesn't exist actually. It shouldn't be there. I don't know. Bend and Box just needs to put notes in but it's not in my transcription. But this is actually changing here to B flat. These two notes are actually part of B flat. This is moving actually to B flat. So we're in F7 from here to basically to there for 4 beats. It's kind of like Parker's shifting beats a bit. But looking at this bit here, you can see we've got A diminished in, which goes with this now, and then G minor, which goes better with that, and then that's going to A7. Have a listen this time. Let's try and listen to those chords against Parker's melody line, and it just sounds nice. It sounds like that's really what Parker's doing. Have a listen. See, that sounds a lot more natural. I'm not playing a bebop background. I've put in a swing background because I think you can hear the chords better. But you can hear that the chords seem to go a lot better with this melodic line than just playing B flat all the way along. You can actually hear that is actually going very nicely with that E flat, and you can hear the voice lead and the chords descending, and the voice lead is descending. You know, F, E flat, D, C. It just to me all fits in together. Just have another listen to it. See, it definitely sounds better that to me. So that's what I'm saying about that. I think that we've got A diminished, G minor, F7. So let's go back to transcription. So this is how I see this first bit. We're starting off in B flat, which is the root chord. We've got this M4 C B, right, which is up to there. M4 C B usually goes down then. But here we're going to fifth, and then we're going down. So this is like a variation, but it should actually go from E flat to that D, but he's actually put this. This happens a lot actually. I've noticed this in M4 CB. Sometimes we get this changing tone coming, and then we don't go directly to this. We might get something will happen, and it'll come in later on because the chord's coming in later on. But here, I think Parker's definitely thinking these chords as we're going every 2 beats, so it comes in early. And then we're anticipating this G minor here, right? And then we're just running down a G minor, basically G minor arpeggio. In the Charlie Parker Omnibook, this line is a G minor arpeggio, but I actually get this A at the bottom, but it still fits okay. And then we're running to F, so Parker could be running G minor here, and then this F7 could be anticipated with this A here, you see, just a little bit further. But it don't really matter. Whether you take the Charlie Parker Omnibook of mine, my version, it's all going to work, and it's all going to work all those chords really well. So that's what I actually think's happening over there, that Parker's playing these patterns, right, which he knows about, and fitting them in. It's just the brilliance of Charlie Parker. That line there, with the rhythm and everything, it's really about the brilliance and genius of Charlie Parker. Modern players just can't play like this. They can't put these patterns together in such a brilliant way. I mean, there are a lot of people in 1940s who were nicking Charlie Parker lines, all these patterns and that, but they couldn't put it together like he can. This is the genius, the way he actually puts these lines together, you know. So then, I'll just finish this top line off. So then we're going down. I agree with Rick Beato. We're definitely in B flat here, and Charlie Parker is playing B flat major 7 for some reason. He's put the B flat, the root, off the B. Can you remember what I said before? If you're playing a B flat and it's a major 7, you don't want to play the root. So Charlie Parker is definitely emphasising the major 7 because he's playing the A, you see. So he decided to keep the root off the beat. See, the root is always off the beat. And then he's running up here to this 7th again, major 7th again, but he's not playing the B flat. So that chord is most likely B flat major 7. I think we've got to change here to F7. I'll just write that in if I can. I think we're in F7 here because he's emphasising this here very strongly to run down. So I don't see C minor. I agree with Rick Beato. He says this is not C minor because we're going F, aren't we? We're running down to E flat here. You know, it's definitely all F7. And then I think B flat starts here. So I think that's F7 all the way along right to there. But I don't consider that's not F7. I think we're going. Parker's thinking B flat here, and then this is running to this B flat here. You see, so I think this is running down to B flat. I think Rick Beato says this is B flat as well. Yeah, I agree with him. This looks like B flat. This B flat 7. Okay, if you look at this bit here, from here down to there, right? Let me just draw that in. From there to there, that's called M4E. M4E. Right. M4E, right, is 5 chromatic notes running down, right? And the distance between that note and that note is a major third. So it can appear, it's basically taking you from a note on beat to another note on beat, a major third apart. So it can work on, well, you tell me what it can work on. Have a think about it. Thought about it? It can work on anything with minor third, basically. So it can work on, say, a major chord. In a major chord, the between the root and the third is a major third, isn't it? But between the third and the fifth isn't. It's a minor third, isn't it? But between the fifth and the seventh on a major, well, on a major seventh is a major third interval. So on a major 7 chord, it can appear between the root and the third and the fifth and the seventh. On a 7th chord, it can only appear between the root and the third. And we're saying this is F7, aren't we? Because between the third and the fifth on a 7th chord, right, is a minor third. And between the fifth and the flat 7, right, is also a minor third. So it can only appear on the root. On a minor chord, though, it's different, isn't it? The minor chord, the distance between the root and the third is a minor third, but between the third, that is the minor third on a minor chord, the third and the fifth is a major third. So, and that's all because between the fifth and the flat 7 again is a minor third. So you've got to you need to remember those little things I've just said there about where you can use this, where you're running between on a chord. Now I think this is F7 going all the way along, so you'd be running between the third and the root on F7 chord. Okay, and it's like, to me, it's reinforced by this little bit here. See this little bit here, F down to E. That's a descending. I'll just write that in. That F to E there. That's a bebop scale descending. F7 bebop scale descending. So that looks to me like F7. We're going to B flat here, look. D, C to that B flat there. This is another line. This is this line in the Charlie Parker harmony goes B, A flat, B flat, but it's wrong because this is a line you see a hell of a lot. It's actually, I'll write it in. It's M, 4, A, B. And that appears a hell of a lot in Charlie Parker's lines. It's like it appears over 1,000 times in his solos. In 200 transcribed solos, that appears over 1,000 times, that little line there. But it goes from B flat. What it is it runs chromatically down from, well, from here, it's from the root of the key you're in, but it can appear anyway. It's just 3 notes running down, and then it jumps up to 1 tone above the first note you've started. So you run down 3 chromatics, then you jump at 1 tone above where you started. So there it's C. So basically, what we're doing is we're going from B flat to C. anyway. And then we're going down, let's have a look at this. We're running down an F minor tetrachord, just write that in. F minor, little t, tetrachord, which obviously works, if you go that way, it works on F minor, because obviously if you take them running up, it's F and A flat, which are on beat, aren't they? But if you're running that way, right, you're running downwards, it fits on this B flat 7 chord, right? And it can also, if you go from F minor back one, so that would be C minor, it would also work on C minor, so you'd have B flat and C, B flat and that G running down as well, wouldn't you? And then we're running to something where I've actually got it wrong, because it don't make sense that. I think this is wrong what I've put in, but I'm not sure. To me that sounds like what he's playing, but in Charlie Parker Harmonic book it actually makes more sense. So that didn't make any sense, but now this that makes sense to me. You know, that's exactly what Parker's playing in the Charlie Parker Harmonic book. It's wrong, but I think this is wrong, and what's in the Charlie Parker Harmonic book is right. So we're going to get rid of this, and we're going to have a look at this as it's written in the Charlie Parker Harmonic book, because it makes sense. And it's more interesting anyway. What's happening in the Charlie Parker Harmonic book is actually more interesting. So I'm going to look at this now as it's written. I'm going to write it out in my transcription as it's written in the Charlie Parker Harmonic book and show you what I think's happening. Okay. Okay, so I'm looking at this line, which is quite shocking to me. I've written it as it is in the Charlie Parker Harmonic book. Now, I don't know whether that's right or not, but this does make sense as what Parker would play. And if it's right in the Charlie Parker Harmonic book, I can't hear this, because this is ghosted quite a lot. But it's really shocking. When I say shocking, shocking in its brilliance. It's how Parker's put it together. It doesn't. When you hear it, it just sounds like a line, a descending line, running down, but it's how it's made up that gets me. I'll just show you this here, right? So we've got this descending line here. We've got from this E here to this D flat to this C, and then it's running down to that B, which is taking you up to there, right? Right, this from here to here, this is called M10. Charlie Parker's lines. Basically, it drops a tritone and then runs up by a scale. so as you can see, A to E flat is a tritone, then it runs up by a scale. So that's the easy way to identify M10. But then it gets a little bit strange. From here to here, that is M18 A B. And it's, as you can see, the last note of this M10 sets up M18 B, AB, sorry, which is this line here, which is taking voice leading to that line, and then it goes off. It can go in different directions. But another clever thing is that there's another overlapping line here. It's just this one here. It's from here to here. That is all one line. It's called M6A A. What's shocking is how Parker's putting it together. You see these lines separate, but Parker's put it together in this fantastic voice leading line coming down, then finishing off. Now this M6AB is just a 2/5 pattern, so get rid of that, and it's actually F7, and then we've got B flat just here. You see, it's like a 2 pattern. Obviously, you can see that is F7. So this here, we've got 4, chord 4, going to a sharp 4, diminished, going to 5, going to 1. This short 4 is obviously a passing chord, E flat to E, which is E diminished, which is a passing chord, to F7. See, it does make sense harmonically. Rick Beato thinks that this E diminished is just going to B flat as it's written in the Charlie Parker book, but it's not. It's actually going to this F7 because M6A is just a 2-5-1 pattern. Okay, like that. But I just think that's fantastic. It really, it's something you can really look at and think about for quite a long time. How Parker's got this fantastic voice leading line here that's running down obviously that B flat and then finishing on this F. But it doesn't matter because, well, it does matter because obviously we've got the 5 here on the C, and then we're actually running up C to that D and then the F. So this is just like finishing off with a B flat. But it's just brilliant how he's put it in these lines. The M10 going to the M18AB, going to M6A. I just remember all these lines and put them together like this. You know, it's hard enough just remembering all these lines. But he's like got hundreds of these lines, and then he puts them together in these fantastic ways. This is why Charlie Parker's a genius. You know, I can't explain it. You know, I can just show you what he's doing. But you explain how he can do things like that, put lines together. He must have worked that out. It's got to be worked out, that. So, I mean, if you see that, you know, a piece of homework is to look at these lines, M18AB, and see how Charlie Parker uses them in his solos. See if he links them together like this in other things as well. Just fantastic, that. So let's move on, shall we? Okay, so we're looking at this bit here. This is just a melodic line. It goes ba 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 da. I've heard this before. It goes ba 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 da ba 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 da ba da ba da ba da ba da da. I don't know what it is. It's either some kind of nursery rhyme or some call, you know, like a trumpet call or something. I don't know. But I always call that the Three Blind Mice line because it's very similar to Three Blind Mice, isn't it? You know what I mean? See how they run, ba 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 da. But it fits that line there, right? Will fit anywhere along that top line. The only chord that won't really fit on is this chord, E flat, the chord 4. You won't see chord 4 until this bit here when we go into subdominant. So, okay, so I'm looking at this line now. We start off. This is different to Charlie Parker Omnibook. This is obviously more correct. It's a bit ridiculous in Charlie Parker Omnibook. Rick Beato says this is 1-6-2-5-1, which I disagree with. We start off with this familiar M1, half step lead in, so you've got G minor, which is the relative minor of B flat. So I'll agree with this chord. This is B flat, G B D. This isn't G7 though. This is F7. We're going down. We've got an F and we've got this E flat. So it's definitely moving into F7 here. So I'll just scribble that out. So this is F7, descending bebop scale. This is very similar to above there. Can you see how we had 5 chromatic notes there and we're moving a minor third? Well, here Parker's jumping off, and the idea is to make a line that runs obviously over 2 beats, but this time a minor third instead of a major third. Up there at major third, here it's a minor third. So we're definitely wanting some kind of different harmony. I think this is just going 5-1 to 1. So I'm going to put 1 down here because it looks like it makes sense. So I'll just put 1 in. So this is B flat. So we're going 1, 5, 7 just here, this one. And then this is 1 chord. If you look at this though, Rick Beato calls this an S7 suspended flat 9. Because I think one of these notes are different, but to me that's just ridiculous saying something like that. This is obviously, if you look at this here, that is C minor, innit? C minor 7. So get rid of that. Sorry, get rid of that. C minor 7, which is chord 2. But it is also chord 6 in the subdominant key, in the C flat. So it's 2 and 6, so it's actually a pivot chord that. it'll work in that chord as 2 and that chord as 6. This makes more sense to me. And then we're running here. This is F diminished. Now in the Charlie Parker book that is a natural C, but this makes more sense now to me, and it's because it's just half step down to that B flat. It's making that B flat important, so I definitely agree with that, and I definitely basically agree with this F minor. But I'm actually saying that Parker's actually F minor's all right. I think Parker's playing F diminished deliberately there, right, to get to that B flat 7, and then we're running down. Now this B flat 7, I actually think if you look at this, what I've got in the Charlie Parker book, that's an A flat. Sorry, that's a G flat there, which don't make sense. This makes more sense, B flat to G natural. That there then makes E flat, and off E flat arpeggio, doesn't it? So I think myself, we're actually in E flat here. I think that's E flat. So we're going from F diminished down to E flat. It's kind of like what it looks like. F A flat, C flat, and D from bottom. Could be wrong, but that's what it looks like to me. This note here is actually staccato. It's dotted. It's very short. I ain't put a dot in for some reason. But that's how I see that. So E flat's here, so it's kind of like anticipating this E flat here. Okay. Okay, I've just had a little think about this, and I had this chord here down as F diminished, but looking at this now, how the chords are moving, this is obviously D diminished. If you spell it out from the bottom, it's D diminished, isn't it? And it makes more sense. Look, you've got this 5-1 going to B flat, then we're into chord 2, which is also 6 of this, and it's going up a tone to D diminished. And the D diminished is the 7th chord of E flat, which we're in now. So it does make sense, this now. So these chords are going C minor, D diminished, E flat. In fact, it looks perfect to me, that. Absolutely perfect. But the proof of the pudding is to just have a listen to it. So we just compare what I've wrote and the chords that I think's happening, and the chord that Rick Beato put in. Okay, so we'll have a look at Rick Beato first. Okay, so I'm looking at Rick Beato's version. Obviously, this line is different to what I get, but because this is from the Charlie Parker Harmonic book. But we're looking how Rick Beato is analysing it. I don't get this as G7. I see this as F7 because that's an F descending bebop scale. I get that note as B flat, but it don't really make that much difference because we're just jumping off. And then we go into this D, but this is a converging figure, this D, so I would assume that D would be a chord 2, and it's a 9th on that C minor, which sounds alright. Nice sounds nice, don't they? But I would say that chord is 5 going to 1, so this would be F7 going to B flat. We're running down to this chord, which I don't agree with at all. I don't think Charlie Parker will be thinking F7 suspended flat 9. It just... In 1945, he just wouldn't be thinking that, you know. Dizzy Gillespie might think that chord, you know, who's playing the piano, but he's probably not playing that, you know, he's not playing that anyway. But, you know, I just don't see Parker thinking like that. So I disagree with that chord, even though it does match this, okay. Then he's got this F7, he's dropping down a 5th to this B flat. He's getting this as B flat, which I don't. I get this chord as C... I get that as a natural G, so this is C minor 7, and then this is dropping down to D diminished, because if you look at that, that's just D diminished, isn't it? So he's just ignoring them and saying it's B flat, you know, he's playing like tensions or whatever on B flat, but I see that as D diminished. And then we're running here, I don't get that as sharp, I get it as a G, so we're actually running into E flat. It makes much more sense to me, D diminished running up half a tone, because remember it's the 7th chord of E flat, and running half a tone up to E flat makes more sense. Anyway, let's have a listen, see what Rick Beato's version sounds like. Another listen. I've slowed it down, and I've got a very swing background so you can hear it against the chords. It doesn't sound wrong, it sounds right to me. That chord just seems a bit out of place in bebop era to me. Well, this early bebop era, like later on, you would hear that a lot more. Let's have a listen to my version of it then. Okay, so this is what I've got. Obviously, I've changed this to F7 because that's what it looks like. This is B flat because you're that D, running down to C minor because that's what that's spelling out. And then we've got D diminished because that's what that is, and this is E flat. I get it. This is E flat. That should actually be. I don't know why it's put that in. It should be off, like it's a staccato type thing. That. But have a listen to this. See what this sounds like. See, that sounds all right as well. That sounds all right as well. But that to me sounds more bebop. That's more like the bebop era with those chords in. So they both work, but I would definitely go with my version because those chords seem to match. It's a logical way of thinking. I mean, thinking F7, F suspended 7, flat 9 in the middle of a really nice line like that just sounds weird. I mean, that's really nice, simple thinking that. Do you know what I mean? You go in 5, 1, 5, 1, and then you go into this 2 chord, which is also 6 in this chord. So you're going 6, 7, 1. You know what I mean? But that is a pivot chord. It's also 2 in there. It just makes sense and it's beautiful. It's done that. So I would definitely say that Parker's using those chords. Okay, so let's go back to transcription. Okay, so now I'm looking at this bit here. Right, Rick Beato gets this as E flat 6 and E flat minor 6, mainly because of these two patterns here. If we can just draw them in. If you look at this here, from here to here, right, in the Charlie Parker Harmonic book, it only goes to E flat, but I'm getting that C, so I'm actually getting this as C minor 7. C, E flat, G, B flat, right? Now, Rick Beato makes that as E flat 6, which is even better, I think. I think seeing that as E flat 6 is probably better, because it's simpler, isn't it? And simple's better. But E flat, sorry, that's E flat 6. Oops, E flat 6. Right, E flat 6 and C minor 7 are basically the same chord. They're both tonic sounding chords. This is a one chord in E flat, and this would be 6 chord, wouldn't it? It's relative minor chord. So basically, when you say these things like that, it works both ways. You know, C minor 7 or E 6. Okay, so we'll go with Rick Beato's E flat 6. Okay, so we're writing what Rick Beato says. This is E flat 6, right, from there to there. Makes sense. Okay, so this note here, this line here from E to there, is basically the same as that, apart from that note. So we said that was C minor 7, didn't we? So this is C minor 7. Flat 5, which is looking complicated. Right, C minor 7 flat 5 is exactly the same as E flat minor 6. So we'll write that in because it's nice and simple, isn't it? So put that in as E flat minor 6, which is exactly the same as what Rick Beato said, and this is going to be flat because if you look, this is the end of. So we've come to this bit here, which is exactly the same as that, which was the end of that M6AA, which was a 1 bit, because that was the 5 bit, and this is the 1 bit, isn't it? So this is a 1 chord, so this is B flat. So that's right. So That is 1. So we're going from 4 minus 6 to 1. And the reason why he's doing that is going E flat 6, E flat minus 6 to 1 chord. Right, so all these 4s, 4, 6, 4 minus 6 to 1, which Rick Beato doesn't tell us is because of this voice leading line here. He's hitting that G there, and then G flat there, and then that's going down to F. Very, very nice by Charlie Parker. Always look for voice leading lines. Parker is very, very good at voice leading lines, okay? Okay, so this is Rick Beato going through the bridge section. He's saying that this is the Mixolydian sharp 11 sound, or Lydian dominant sound, whatever you want to call it. So this, we're going down, so it's all basically, the note that's different is that A flat there, or G sharp, and he's holding on to a 13th over at D7. I'm a bit suspicious about that. I'm not, I mean, it works, what he's saying works, but when you listen to the way Charlie Parker plays it, it just doesn't sound like he's doing that. Then Rick says he's dropping down to this D9 chord, which is correct. This is F minus 7 flat 5, which is just the top end of D9, isn't it? So it's right there, that's D9. He's saying this is D7 going to G. This is a bit complicated. This D minus 7 going to G7 going to D minus 7. So we're getting 2 5 2 5 2 5, which makes sense. And it fits perfectly because you've got D and C there, so that goes with a D minor, and then you've got B and D there, it goes with G7, and this is just D minus 7. I think this is just G7 from here. I agree with that D9. I think this is G7 actually going up to here, and that you can just call that a passing note, that G. Then we're going to D minus 7 because that does spell D minus 7, and then we're going to G7. I agree with this, and I agree what Rick Beato says about everything leading down to this fifth here of this G7 to this D. It looks like Parker's going to go somewhere else, but that's all right. If you look, you can see voice lead in there. There's D's. There's this E going down to. It's actually that E there is going to that D there, because Parker hits that really hard. So it's definitely voice leading there. Then we're running down, and then he's leading to that D, so the D is going from that D to that D, so that all makes sense. Everything Rick Beato says there, apart from that D minus 7, I think that's G7 across there, I agree with him. But this bit here, I'm not so happy with. It's because of these like tensions. He's saying that Parker's using a Mixolydian scale, that is D7, but we're a sharp 11, so that would be a G sharp, wouldn't it? That A flat would be a G sharp, and I don't think Parker would think like that. When you listen to it, it goes ba da ba da ba. Have a listen. Ba da ba da da. It sounds like that's resolving to me. So I would say that this is not going like that. I'll just show you. If you remember those Rick Beato chords. Okay, so looking at this, I pretty much agree with Rick Beato here. This is D7. I do see this as G7 to here. He saw that as D minor, didn't he? But I see this as D minor 7, and then this is G7. Okay, it's this bit here where he's saying it's a Mixolydian sound, or D7. I actually think that this, I'm not quite sure, that is called M26. That from there to there is M26. It's an augmented. If you take it from bass, it's augmented, isn't it? C, E, G sharp. That's C augmented. But it's a pattern that Parker plays a lot. That called M28. So I think that this is kind of like anticipating some kind of substitution. So Parker's not really playing D7. He's playing the subchord on D7, which is A flat 7, and then I think he's dropping down to G here, and then we're going D7 here because this is the third. I'm not sure. Rick Beato could be right. It could be just going for sound, you know, going for that sound, and this is a 13th on the D7 chord. But that makes more sense to me. From the era we're talking about. We're talking about 1945, and this kind of stuff, this tritone substitution was more pop. You know, like this is how Parker would think. But we're using this M28, which has got this E natural in. Now, if that were A flat 7, that should be an E flat, shouldn't it? So I'm not really, sure of my facts here. But that to me makes a bit more sense. Listen to it. I mean, Parker's going ba-da-ba-da-da. It's definitely resolving. It's an arpeggio resolving to something, not just a sound. If it were a melodic line, I would agree with Rick Beato that he's actually going for that sound, but it sounds more like a substitution. You know, and with that being emphasised, that G sharp and or A flat, and this E just part of the arpeggio running down. You know, it's just this is just a line he plays a lot, you see. But I think he's trying to emphasise A flat 7 going to G. But it's just that's the only thing. All this I actually agree pretty much with Rick Beato. Like I say, Rick Beato regards these two notes as D minor 7, which works very well as well, and puts the G7 there. That works really good. But I think that's more like what Parker's doing. But it's up to you to decide. Okay, so let's carry on. Okay, so I'm looking at this last bit by Rick Beato from here to here. And then he doesn't do any more. You've got to pay on his site, I think, to see the rest of it. But I won't bother. I won't bother if I were you, because he gets this pretty wrong, I think. This is wrong, this first bit. He says it's a Mixolydian scale, this C7 rising Mixolydian scale, which it would be in that respect, but these notes are all wrong anyway. This is a C dominant bebop scale descending, which Rick Beato also says, so I agree with him on that. We've got M1 going up. He's written it down 3/5 flat 7, so it's just a version of M1. So all this is basically C7 into up to here. He says this is F7 with sharp 5, and he's emphasising that B as sharp 5 on the flat 5 on the F7 chord, which I just don't agree with. I don't agree with that at all. There's something going off here which he don't see, and then he's going on about all these notes. He corrects this note and makes it flat 5. Flat third. Can you see? Because it's A and it's actually an A flat, which is true. And then he goes on about these two notes, 5/3, right? What's happening? I mean, you can see what's happening. I tell you the truth, I honestly don't understand why Rick Beato can't see the same things I see. Let's just go and have a look on my transcription. Okay, so we're looking at this bit here first, which is completely different to what's in the Charlie Parker Harmony book. This line here, from here to here, is called M39. I'll just write that in. So it's from there to there. That's M39. M39 usually fits over the chords A7 running to D. Okay? In this respect I'm talking about. You see there, that note there is the root of A, and that is the third. And then it runs to the fifth of D. See what I mean? So it's a 5-1 pattern. It usually goes 5, and that would be 1 in D. You get what I mean? But for some reason, Charlie Parker is using it on C7. He seems to realise it could use on C7. So obviously we've got the third running up to the 13th or the 6th, which would be 13th, wouldn't it, on C7, and then that is running to the root. So he's using it as 3/13 root of C7. So we've got C7 going our way. But I just want to tell you that line is basically a 5-1 pattern. It should go, that particular line there should go A7 to D. So have a look, see how that's constructed, and he plays it quite a few times, that Charlie Parker. It's not massively played like M5's played, but it's played quite a bit, so it's worth having a look at that. Right, then I agree with Rick Beato here. This part here is a descending bebop line, so just write that in. So from there to there is just a bebop line descending. That's C bebop, C bebop. Oh, sorry, it's a B in it. Bop, descending. Actually, it goes from there to there, doesn't it? So it's going from there. Pen stopped working. There to there. Okay. And then we've got M1 from this E natural taking us up. So we're still in C. So it's M1 taking us up. This is another boppy line. This 4-note chromatic line is called M4D. Right, now this is where I got a bit odd with Rick Beato. Rick Beato says Parker's playing F7 with flat 5, which he could be doing. But looking at those notes, they don't really go with F7, do they? That does, that E flat, but nothing else seems to be very good with F7. You've got B flat there, which is a 4. You know, it just don't. I don't know. It just don't. It's not real an F7. If you look at its run though, he's hitting D here, and then we're running down chromatic light, and then this note seems to be important. This B natural, and then that's going to B flat there, and then that's going to A. So I would say this is some kind of voice leading going through some kind of chords. And then this A flat, I think this last one is F7. We're leading down to F7, and Parker's playing a flat third, so he's playing bluesy on F7. This is a changing tone, can you see? Which is leading to that note. See, half step above, half step below. So it's just a changing tone going to that. So again, we've got a descending voice leading pattern going from that A flat to that G flat to that F. So it's making a nice voice leading line. You see what I mean? From that A flat to that G flat to that. So what's happening here then? We've got F7 here. What's happening here? Well, if you count that from there, C to that B, that's actually a C minor major 7 arpeggio, but it's also a pattern, a Charlie Parker pattern. That Parker plays this pattern, and I'll just write it in. It's called from there to there. So that pattern there is called M14A, A with small a. I haven't written down very well. But it's an actual Charlie Parker pattern, that. So he's doing this deliberately. So I would say there's definitely something happening here. So I would say, if you look at F7, what would be the 2 chord before that F7? It would be C minor, wouldn't it? So I think he's playing C minor here with a major 7. So it's C minor. Sorry about that, I'll just do a line there. C minor with a major 7. Right? And the reason why he's doing that is because of the voice leading. He's dropping down to that C, so he's going B, B flat, A. So it makes it, instead of, you know what I mean, if it had just played C major 7 there, you won't get this nice chromatic voice leading there to there. So I think that's what he's doing there. Hope you can follow that all right, what I've been saying there. Charlie Parker's using a chromatic voice leading line there to get to that A, and then we're just playing blues here and then finishing on that F. And that blues, in a way, is so he can run down with a nice voicing line to that F as well, you see. It's brilliant playing this, you know. It's really good. But that's what I actually think's happening there. I think he's playing this M4A9 or this C minor major 7th arpeggio backwards, you know, descending. So that we got this nice voicing line to this B. It's really clever, isn't it? When you think about it, it's really clever, that. But that's different to what Rick Beato, because Rick Beato just thinks he's playing F7, and this is flat 5 on that F7, which could be happening. But if you look how that's the M4AA, that M14AA, sorry, is being played there, it's just obviously to me just a voice leading line. And when you listen to it, you can hear this voice leading line if you listen very carefully. So anyway, he comes down, goes up to that flat third. He's playing bluesy effect now, bluesy effects, changing tone down to the F, and then he finishes it on D. So that's basically it. So I spent quite a long time on this video, and I've gone through that quite thoroughly. This transcription, I've corrected my own mistakes, what I thought wasn't right. You know what I mean? You've got to be able to do things like that, not just think that you're right all the time, that the person that you're looking at could be right. But on average, the reason why I've gone through this and I'm looking at Rick Beato and gone through it so meticulously, is that I just want people to not be intimidated by people who are supposed to be professional musicians. Rick Beato's a professional musician, right? And he's good on rock music, and and he's taught, so he knows his stuff, and he's wrote a #1 popular song, so he definitely knows his stuff. But he's not a specialist in one subject, you know what I mean? A lot of these people who are teaching, they're really good people teaching on YouTube, Well, I'm not going to name them because there's just so many now. Since this shutdown has been going, you've got all these musicians coming on now, and they're really good, really good players and that. But they're not specialists in one particular subject. So, you've got to look at it with a pinch of salt, what they're doing. Look at it, and then really examine it and say, is that really what's happening? And that's what I want to show you here, because I had one guy, and he'd come on my analysis of Moosh the Moosh, and because I told this guy to go and look on another video to find out where he could get the Thomas Owen catalogue of motives, the two PhD volumes, he gave me right rollicking as though I should have told him, there and then. But if he'd have gone to the video, I said, which he did do, this guy did go to the video and he did download it, so he did what I said, because he was interested in bebop. But this guy was criticising me. He couldn't even be bothered to go, and he's claiming to be a professional saxophone player, doctorate. He's got a doctorate in saxophone, and he don't even understand the Charlie Parker motives which are in the Thomas Owen book. So how can you know what I mean? And he never even bothered to find out. He never bothered going to that video and finding out. He just slagged me off and said that this guy should go and watch Chad B, this saxophone player called Chad B. Which is okay, go and watch him. I'm not stopping you, go and watch him. He's put some more okay videos on. But it's just crazy, actually criticising me and not knowing what you're talking about. That's really gets me up my back, that. So that's all I want to say. Don't be intimidated by a lot of professional musicians on YouTube, because they're not specialists in one subject. They've got, they've took the music degrees and been playing, and they're specialists in the subject that they're in. You know what I mean? Like Adam Neely's basically a fusion specialist, isn't he? He knows all about fusion music. Rick Beato's into rock music quite a bit. And that Chad B, who this guy said you should be looking at, he's a good sax player, but he's not a bebop saxophone player. He's hard bop. You can tell just by listening to his way he plays and looking at his solos. You know what I mean? His solos. If you look at his solos, he doesn't play changing tones in the way that the beboppers did. He's playing more like the hard boppers. So it's just different. You know what I mean? So that's my main thing I'm saying about this video. That's what all this video's about. Don't get intimidated by these people who call themselves professionals, because they're not professionals at bebop. Because as far as I'm concerned, there ain't no professionals at bebop. If you're looking at professionals in bebop, then you've got to look at people who play in their own styles, like Barry Harris. You know what I mean? He's a professional at bebop because he plays bebop every day. That's all he does. You know what I mean? So that's the person that you should be looking at. And people who've done, wrote PhDs and stuff on bebop. They've looked at specific aspects, so you're going to learn things off them. But I would say that on Charlie Parker, there's no real experts on Charlie Parker. Everybody contributes a little bit, and you've got to keep taking all these bits and try and put them together yourself. You might have looked at what I've done on this transcription and actually saying to yourself, well, I don't agree with that. I see it this way. And you could be correct. Don't see what I do as being gospel and it's absolute truth. If you see something, you see a better way of doing it, you probably are right. You know what I mean? I'm quite willing to accept other people's. I look very carefully at what other people do, because they might give me information, But like I said, don't be intimidated by professionals. Okay, so I'll see you in another video. Bye.